sounds to you like what we're saying is, don't face reality. That's exactly what we're saying. Because facing reality just regurgitates reality. Now, there's plenty of reality that you want to keep replicated in your life experience, but you want to learn to be a more selective sifter. So you want to keep the thoughts that feel the best and leave the thoughts that feel the worst. If it's a thought that doesn't feel good, general will slow it down. If it does feel good, more specific will speed it up. But you want to be discerning of which it is. So the first thing that you want to do, anytime you're aware that you're feeling any emotion, is say, good for me, my guidance is really working. This is really a good thing. Just guidance. Guidance that is easy to correct from. And that's what your emotions are. That's even what all manifestations are about. Just guidance to help you to correct the trajectory. But you do it with the power of your mind, and you mold it by caring about the way you feel. Sometimes there is a trajectory that you haven't practiced what you really want enough, and so that trajectory is going to play itself out. And will continue to play itself out until you replace it with a different trajectory. But the thing that we so want you to understand is that you don't have to dig down and get to the bottom of those negative trajectories. In fact, there is no bottom. Because the more you try to figure out what's gone wrong, the more the universe will reveal to you more evidence that it is going wrong. Law of attraction is just that way. And so if you will accept that there's no bottom, and so you will stop trying to get to the bottom of it, but instead just take the negative emotion as the indicator, and then at the next best opportunity, reach for a good feeling thought. And we're not talking about bringing yourself to bouncing off the wall enthusiasm. We're not talking about getting so high that you want to go out screaming into the woods your appreciation of all life. We're not talking about that kind of momentum. There's usually not that kind of momentum first thing in the morning. We're just talking about having a feeling of satisfaction, a feeling of well-being, a feeling of right place, right time, a feeling of, isn't this a nice day, a feeling of at oneness with the universe, a feeling of appreciation that the sun is coming around whether you can see it behind the clouds or not, a realization that the earth is spinning in its orbit, and all things, most things that are important to you are really in a good place, and that everything is working out for you. Just make those general statements to yourself. Find someone who's easy to love and focus on them, or find something that you really appreciate and focus on that, or find something that doesn't have much dynamic in either case and just focus on that. It might not seem like life-changing things, but anything that occupies your mind in a way that feels good to you means you're in vibrational alignment with source energy. So you can hold yourself steadily on things that don't feel very important to you. And in that steady place of non-resistance about things that don't feel very important to you, insight comes about things that do feel very important to you. But you can't get to very important things that really feel good to you from an awareness of the very important things that you want are not happening. In other words, there's too much of a vibrational gap. Where if you start in the middle, not feeling particularly bad or good, and reach for feelings of satisfaction, as you maintain that sort of momentum, what begins to happen is thoughts begin to flow. And isn't life made up of day-to-day lifetime experiences? Aren't they the conversations? Isn't it the day-to-day movement that makes up the majority of your life? Don't you really want this moment to be one of satisfaction rather than distress? Don't you want this moment to be one of clarity rather than confusion? Don't you want to feel humorous? Don't you want to feel lighthearted about life and about others? Don't you want to feel eager about what you're doing or interested in your day? Don't you want to feel interested in whatever it is that you're watching on television or reading about? Don't you just love the feeling of energy moving? Don't you know those feelings that we're talking about? And we're wanting to remind you that this is Source reading with you, Source watching with you, Source speaking with you, Source creating with you. You're just not happy doing it alone, and yet you have relegated yourselves to doing it alone because somebody's convinced you that you got to prove your worthiness, which means you got to get off in the corner by yourself and you got to prove what you're made of, which means you got to prove how much you're willing to suffer in order to get to the good stuff. You don't get to the good stuff through suffering. You get to the good stuff through savoring. You get to the good stuff through reaching for thoughts that feel good to you. You don't get to the good stuff through suffering. You get to the good stuff through savoring. You get to the good stuff through reaching for thoughts that feel good to you.